and the BBC US partner, Assange will spend no time in US custody and will receive credit for the time spent incarcerated in the UK. Assange will return to Australia according to a letter from the Justice Department, and on X, the platform formerly known as Twitter, WikiLeaks said that Assange left Belmarsh prison on Monday after 1,901 days in a small cell. He was then released to Stansted Airport during the afternoon, where he boarded a plane and departed the UK to return to Australia, a statement added. Video shared online by WikiLeaks appeared to show Assange dressed in jeans and a blue shirt being driven to Stansted before boarding an aircraft, and news agencies have been unable to independently verify this particular video. Now moving on, Pirates of the Caribbean actor Tamayo Perry has died after being attacked by a shark while surfing in Hawaii. The 49-year-old died on Sunday afternoon, Honolulu's emergency services confirmed in a press conference. Emergency services were called at Marikana Beach at around 13 hours local time, but Perry, who was also a lifeguard, was pronounced dead by paramedics after being brought to the shore by a jet ski. Perry portrayed one of the buccaneers in Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides, the fourth film in the franchise. The 2011 film, which follows Johnny Depp, an eccentric pirate, Captain Jack Sparrow, also stars Penelope Cruz and Geoffrey Rush. Perry also had roles in Lost, Hawaii 5-0, Blue Crash, and Charlie's Angels sequel Full Throttle, and appeared in a Coca-Cola advert. Born on the east side of Oahu, Perry had been surfing professionally for over a decade. In a blurb on the Oahu surfing experience, where he was an instructor, he described his experience surfing the world's deadliest wave. Now back to Africa, one person has died and dozens were injured during a crash at an election rally for Rwanda's President Paul Kagame, officials say. Campaigning for July's general election began on Saturday, with Mr. Kagame holding two rallies in northern Rwanda over the weekend. The crash happened on Sunday in Rubavu district, where 37 people were injured, 4 of whom were hospitalized with serious injuries, a statement from the Ministry of Local Government said. It apologized to the deceased family, adding that a medical team on site did everything possible. Mr. Kagame is running for a fourth term. He has been the country's de facto leader since 1994, when his then rebel group, the Rwanda Patriotic Front, seized power at the end of the genocide directed at members of his Tutsi ethnic group. He won the last presidential election in 2017 with nearly 99% of the vote. Lastly, according to Reuters, extreme heat can affect productivity and profits in several industries. Construction is at the top of this list. In blistering heat, jobs that may take 2 days can take as many as 3 or 4 days, and Climate Crisis 24/7 believes that this is only the start of the economic consequences of the level of temperature much of the world has suffered for the last week. Temperatures well over 100 degrees Fahrenheit are hazardous when people work in the sun. Last year, when Phoenix was hit with 110 degrees days, the temperature as an asphalt rose over 180 degrees. And the problem is worse in nations like India, where air conditioning is lacking and people may be unable to work in the heat. And that's it for our climate news and what is happening around the world.
Now, Ginger Hospital carried out its first open heart surgery. That's quite a great feat for Uganda's medicine. But Jerome Paul has more in the dailies.
Government has recalled 2,300 titles in wetlands, says the New Vision this morning. Evictions over encroachment extended countrywide. More details to proceed, and you can find more in today's New Vision. Also, find the right suit for your wedding in the Bride and Groom magazine, as well as a teen magazine is inside for the parents that have children. Now read about the 30-year-old man who was hacked mother to death. Then elsewhere, Museveni questions role of LCs in fighting corruption. That is also at the front page of the New Vision. Then also the New Vision in regards to the community perspective. Jinja Hospital performs first heart surgery, a huge milestone for the people in Jinja. Now the Daily Monitor, war on graft. I am not joking, says Museveni. That is the headline of today's Daily Monitor. Uganda's corruption report card shows at least 136 billion shillings of tax leaks, money lost through a porous tax system. Then there is 478 billion shillings public utility user fee, the cost of user fees for public utilities. Then 860 billion natural resources fee, money swindled through natural resources rent per year. Then there is also security graft, 91 billion, the cost of corruption involving security forces. Then bribes to judicial officers, illegal payments to buy justice is totaling up to 763 billion annually. That is the report card as it stands so far. Now also, NEMA activists square off over Lubigi wetland evictions as Onyango Bo on why in fighting graft, Museveni has a headmaster's problem. Find details in Daily Monitor. Let's look at the Daily Nation from Kenya. Ruto's options, the finance bill statement, the finance bill stalemate, Interior CS Kithuri Kindiki spells out rules of engagement for the protesters who are hitting the streets again this Tuesday. Then elsewhere, wide double taxation bill targeting owners of land in towns has angered the Kenyans. Then in regards to entertainment, the Churchill Show makes a grand comeback on NTV Kenya. Then judiciary, Chief Justice issues new rules as court reopens. As members of parliament want 3 rogue hospitals delisted. Move grades 8 and 9 to high school, according to some education experts, giving more of their views to the Kenyan Education Ministry. Now elsewhere, let's look at the Citizen newspaper, that is from Tanzania. Government and traders in talks amid shop closures. The negotiations between the government and traders representatives were going on in Dodoma yesterday, as some shops remain closed in Dar es Salaam, usually the bustling karaoke shopping district. Then Zanzibar State House rejects Mwinyi term extension talk. Also, in business air transport, Air France to introduce direct Paris and KIA flights in November. Then members of parliament back plan to curb sugar prices increase in Tanzania as the World Bank urges action on livestock greenhouse emissions. That and more is what you can get in one of the dailies this Tuesday.
Now, as we move on, we will be speaking to the Ministry of Internal Affairs or the Directorate of Citizenship and Immigration Control regarding the passports that they are stuck with, but even so much more regarding acquiring Uganda's passports and even renewal. I know you have so many questions regarding that, and we'll be having that conversation. But for now, Kashi Kigan with This Is My Dream.
Live from UPC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
My heart was born.
Throwback Thursday, and we get into the nostalgia of the days that were sweeter and when life was easier. It could be something in the realm of music, or something you remember growing up, or something that you remember just a couple of years ago. It could be anything, but today is Throwback Thursday, and we throw back to those beautiful nostalgic memories that you of passports. Now, passports, like the national ID, are one of the most important documents you can have as a Ugandan, because if you need to travel, it makes the process seamless. But there have been issues regarding the same. And among these, the ministry is stuck with over 9,000 passports that have not been picked up. And one will wonder why there are 9,000 people that are not picking for you to pay and not pick your passport. Good morning, Mr. Monday.
Good morning, Olive, and thanks for having me here this morning. Good morning, our viewers.
Well, we are happy to have you to answer questions of national importance. But now, speaking of national importance, tell us about the 9,000 passports.
Viewers and Olive.
Yes.
I think 2 months ago, I called out to companies, labor export companies, who had earlier on registered girls and wanted to take them out for employment. But along the way, I think they got issues.
Yes.
So these girls were not taken. And then they started coming to our offices, complaining that, well, they had entered an agreement with the companies to take them out, but I think it was not forthcoming. So companies also refused to return their passports. So when they registered complaints, we also did appeal to labor export companies to return passports that they had not processed for travel. First of all, the owners were not there. They had gone back to villages. These girls, I remember when they apply for passports, these companies actually pay for these passports, the companies. So when they pay for these passports, when passports are made available and ready, they pick them up with the girls, of course. But when they pick the passports, they await the process of processing travel to go out. Now, we all know that this business of taking girls out for labor, I think, encountered challenges, and I think business is not doing well. So also, these companies retain these passports. First of all, they claim the girls did not pay for the passports, so it is their property. And so what they were doing, most of them, is they were asking for a lot of money again for these girls. They were asking the girls to pay for the passports since they didn't pay for them in the first place. So, you know, these girls are from villages, they don't have money, they are poor, but also they have a right to this document because the document belongs to them. The passport belongs to actually 2 people. It belongs to the holder, and also the government of the Republic of Uganda, not the labor export company. So we appealed to them, said, well, we all make losses in businesses, and along the way, of course, nothing much we can do. You wanted to take these girls, things have jammed. For as long as you keep these passports, you will still be reminding yourself of the losses you are making. So why don't you surrender the passports to these girls?
And also, the passports are a legal document.
Exactly.
So them being, isn't it illegal for them to first of all be in the hands of the labor externalization companies?
Well, it is not illegal because these companies are licensed.
Okay.
That's their business.
Do they have a right to hold
Yes,
onto passports?
they are licensed to take the girls out of the country, but they have no right to actually impound the passports.
Yes.
They have a right to keep those passports for as long as they are processing their travel to get out of the country. But if the business of going out has failed, now what do? Let's return these passports. For them, they are saying, no, these girls have got to pay. Now, girls are stuck. Some of them walked to our offices and they were actually asking us to help out. So that's why we appealed. So about 6 companies returned the passports. Only 6 out of the over 200 companies registered here. Only 6 of them returned passports, totaling to about 9,000. The ones we're appealing to these girls to come and pick. It is actually at this moment that I appeal to whoever applied for a passport, paid for it, processed, and actually received it and handed it over to a labor export company, but was not processed to travel out, can at this moment come and check, because we have them and we are not charging any money. We are asking, all we want is for you to come with your national ID, we verify, just to find out that this passport actually belongs to you, and we shall give it back to you.
At no cost?
No cost at all.
So
we want to thank even those companies, 6 of them. I'm not going to name them, but I want to thank them, and also appeal to those who are still keeping these passports illegally to please hand them over to Internal Affairs, because we are the authorized government agency that first of all issued the passports, and also we have capacity to send out messages to these girls to come and pick these passports. Even if they don't receive messages, because we know that some of these girls are staying in places where they cannot access internet, they cannot, some of them have no phones, some of them have no network. So even if we send messages, they don't receive these messages. Then, most difficult thing, some of these company managers actually registered their telephone numbers when they were applying for this passport. So when we send the message, it goes to the manager of the company. When we try to make effort to even call using telephone, the company manager is the one that receives the message and the call. Now,
putting that into consideration, how exactly is the Directorate of Citizenship and Immigration Control thinking of reaching out to the girls? Of course, being at UBC is one step, but for those that are in areas probably where they don't have access to TV and internet, like you mentioned, how exactly are you going to reach them?
We have a number of mechanisms. One, of course, UBC. Yes. UBC goes everywhere.
Yes.
I was in West Nile, I was watching UBC. I was in Kabale, I was watching UBC.
Okay.
So this is one way. The second one is we are going to use government offices in the districts. What we are going to do, we shall look at some of these, because they indicate districts where they come from. So government has structures on ground. So we cannot fail as a government institution. We are going to use either offices of RDCs or offices of passport, because we have some offices in districts. Some districts, like you see, we have in Mbale, we have in Mbarara, we have in Igulu, we also have in Jinja, and some other offices. So we are going to go down to RDCs, and RDCs have structures that go up to the ground using maybe GSOs, Gombolola chiefs. Those ones can call out to these girls, and RDCs, we are told, have some free airtime in those radios in those particular areas. So we are going to use all means to ensure that these girls actually receive their passports.
So are the owners, because there is one, there are those that they applied for passports, but there are those who just dealt with the labor externalization companies and probably don't even know that their passports are out there.
There is no way they are not aware that they didn't. Because first of all, for you to be able to apply for a passport, we have got to come physically, and we have got to take details from you. we have got to interview you, we have got to take fingerprints. So there's no way that actually someone applied and is not aware. Unless somebody has a very difficult problem of memory. Because for you to apply for a passport, you have got to come physically. With the new system of electronic passport, you cannot process a passport in absentia. You know, you cannot, unless you are in diaspora. But even in diaspora, you have got to go to our embassy and you find an officer there who actually interfaces with you. Because we have to interview you to verify, most importantly, citizenship. Without that, we can't give you a passport. And also, we need fingerprints. So you cannot avail fingerprints when you are not there.
So if anyone is telling you they are processing your passport and you've not been at the offices of immigration, then that person is a fraudster. And speaking about fraudster, tell us more about the case of the girls that were brought in Costa to the Internal Affairs offices.
Yeah, it is quite disturbing for somebody to come to Internal Affairs and wants to pick passports that they did not apply for. So just last week, a Costa full of girls, all of them girls, 30 in number, were dumped at the ministry. So dumped there. So when time came for them to enter, of course they have to be verified. They look at things like appointment to come to passport office. These girls did not have anything. We asked them for reference numbers. They did not have anything. All they were singing is that they want to pick their passports because they paid for them. So upon interrogation, we find that these girls were mobilized by one Edward in Subuga, who collected 500,000 from each of them. So he actually collected a total of 15 million from these girls.
And he even collected
yes, more. And he told them that here is a Costa, put the girls there from different parts of the country, up country. So he brought them there. So he dumped them. The girls say he was seen entering the gates of Internal Affairs, and they never saw him again.
Does the ministry have any idea of who this person is?
We do not have. We were actually just appealing to whoever knows that person, because also the girls did not have his picture. The telephone number that he gave them is not available. Either
is it registered in his name?
It is not even registered in the first place.
Wow.
The number is not even registered. We tried checking, it is not registered. So clearly these girls were defrauded, and then they paid 500,000. There's no way we charge a passport. Ordinary, this blue passport, 500,000, no way. This is to appeal. This is to appeal. Okay. First of all, before I even come to the cost, to appeal to Ugandans out there. When processing a passport, we have made things very easy these days. You go to our link, www.passports.go.ug. Once you reach there, system will avail a form, very easy. This form, all you have to do is put information about you, details about you, which we assume you know. Yes. Names, date of birth, place of birth, father, mother, your clan, stuff like that. Then at the tail end of that form, the system will actually avail what we refer to as payment registration number. This number comes from URA, because our system is actually integrated with URA and also integrated with NIRA. So URA gives that number for you to be able to pay. You can pay using mobile money in the comfort of your home, office, or at the business place. So you can actually sit here where you are at UBC, apply for a passport, pay for a passport, schedule appointment, and go to Internal Affairs just for enrollment. That's how easy the process is. We have made it easy. Government has invested a lot of funds in the system, and it is no longer difficult for people to apply for passports. But we wonder why some people are still conning others. Why do you pick 500,000 hard-earned and give somebody in the name of processing a passport for you? When I came here, somebody wanted to apply for a passport. I think I gave a link. I think she's about to finish her application. And even payment is about to be done.
Yes.
And actually from here, we are going together. She will be able to be enrolled, interviewed, and the passport processed. As simple as that.
And how long does it take for one to get their passport from the moment of, first of all, now that we have the online system, do I use that system to book for an appointment? And also, when I get the appointment, how long does it take me to get the passport?
The process of applying for a passport, like we've said, has been made easy. First of all, you do not need LCs, the tedious process.
Oh, that was a tedious process.
Tedious, expensive, time wasting.
Yes.
Where you have got to go to LC1, then 2,
then
LC3, RBC,
yes.
DISO. You come and line up in the bank. Without the bank, you can't pay.
I got my first passport in 2008.
What was the experience like? It must have been an awful one.
I applied for the passport at the beginning of 2008 and I got it 7 months later.
You can imagine. Those are days of the past.
Yeah.
Come to internal affairs now, you will even be amazed. People have gotten passports, especially those who pay for express, in 2 days. Express takes 2 days. You pay 400,000 for express passport. 1-2 days, you already receive a message. Actually, you receive a notification that your passport is ready, so you are free to go and pick it. If you apply for a standard passport, not express, you pay 250,000 only for people living in Uganda, for Ugandans here. You only add 10,000 if you are living in the diaspora.
Yes.
10,000 for courier services. You know it is very expensive, but government shouldered all the costs and made it sure that you pay only 10,000 and the passport will reach to you in America, US, South Africa, UK, and all those parts of the world. So you only add 10,000 if you live in the diaspora, 260,000. For those who are here, Ugandans who are here, you only pay 250,000. And I repeat, 250,000. You don't add a coin. I wonder why. Maybe Ugandans have a lot of money. Why do you just get 500,000 and just donate to Nsubuga to process the passport for you? And without anything, without asking anything, and he puts in a coaster and drops you at the ministry.
Actually, on that, someone here is seeking clarification, and he says, how does one, what contacts does one get to to make an application? Let me try to paraphrase. He's wondering how, when you call, it's the manager's number that is receiving the calls or receiving the messages and not the girls or their next of kin. They need clarification on that.
Well, what happened during the process of application, what we actually learned is that some of these girls are illiterate. They do not know anything about computer and stuff. So the managers of these labor export companies, given the fact that they were the ones, first of all, paying for the passport, so they were the ones inputting, they would ask the girls, but for them to ensure that the passport comes to them, they had to put their telephone number, the managers, so that when the passport is made ready, the system sends a message to them. So the girl cannot go pass behind and collect this passport. It was a mechanism to ensure that these passports actually go to the company first.
Okay.
So the company wanted to find to get a way of getting notification. If passport is ready, then they call the girls to come and pick
so
the passports.
So the girls come,
yes,
but with the labor externalization personnel,
exactly,
to pick their passports.
Exactly.
So in your books, the girls sign out
their passports. The girl is the one, because you cannot actually sign out a passport without fingerprint. So first, fingerprints are required at enrollment, but also required during the issuance, so that we actually confirm that the one who put the fingerprints at enrollment is the one actually picking the what?
Picking the passport.
So there must be the fingerprints must rhyme. The ones at enrollment and the ones at issuance, so that we are sure that we are giving Olive who applied for the passport and not somebody else.
Okay.
Yes.
So on that front, it means that the ministry is actually not guilty, because some people were of the view that you give the passports to the labor externalization companies rather than the girls.
No, it's not possible, because the system actually cannot issue out that passport without you with your fingerprint. So what actually these companies do, they call the girls, they drive them to Chambogo, and they remain outside. The girls enter to pick the passport. So whoever comes out, I think they can put them in the vehicle, and I think collect the passports from them.
Okay.
For us, we do not allow third party to pick a passport for an applicant.
Okay, so now I'm Ugandan, I live in the diaspora. How do I get my passport, especially if it is expired?
We have 3 types of Ugandans living in diaspora.
Yes.
The first one, we have Ugandans living in countries where we have passport office, where we also have embassy, and a passport office and embassy. That's one category. That one is very easy. You go to the embassy where our offices are, because we are domiciled at embassies.
Yes.
So you go there, you ask for passport office, there you'll find, it is a full-fledged passport office like you see one at Internal Affairs. You apply, you are enrolled, you take your fingerprints, they interview you, and you're able to pay. You get your details captured, and then you go away. After about 2 weeks, you receive a message that the passport is ready. You go back to the embassy and pick it. Second category of Ugandans living in diaspora is those living in countries where we have embassy, but we do not have passport office.
Yes.
Most of them. We have embassy there, but we don't have passport office. This one is also not difficult. What you do, you go, you apply online, print out your papers, go to the embassy, and the embassy staff will help. There will be somebody at the embassy who will interview you just to find out and confirm that you are Ugandan, and then your passport will be processed, papers will be sent to Kampala, and the passport will be sent back to you. Then we have the third category of diasporans who are very difficult. This is the most difficult. They live in countries where we don't have an embassy, we also don't have passport office.
Yes.
So this one, we always advise Ugandans, if you want to replace your passport, go online, apply for your passport, pay. You can pay using a Visa card or any payment gateway. Once you are done with payment, you courier your papers, put them in the envelope, put in a courier, the papers will come. We have a very active office here working on diaspora cases.
So when you courier them, you courier them to Uganda,
not
to
passport
a nearby
office.
country
No,
in the diaspora?
to Uganda.
Okay.
They will come here and we shall work on that passport replacement. Now, if you want to travel, your passport is expired and you are living in such a country where we have no embassy, no passport office. All you have to do is to go to the passport office of that country to give you a document to be able to travel home. Yes.
And that's now where Ugandans that have lost their passports, that's the process they can use, because now they have to come back home.
We have an arrangement, even here. Foreigners who lose their passports and have no embassies here, they come to us, we give a document. It is allowed for you to travel back home.
All right. Now, there has been another issue of fraudsters that position themselves outside the Internal Affairs offices, and they are defrauding not only Ugandans but also foreigners, claiming that they can help them. Basically, we call them brokers. Help them to acquire passports. First of all, why is this ongoing, and what processes have you put in place to bring this to an end?
For sure, when we started issuing electronic passports, at that time we had lots of brokers. That whole ministry, before the new management came in place, the place was like a marketplace.
That's true. I was there when
yes,
it was like that.
There were lots of transactions. It was like a market. So I would say, I want to get you a passport. I want to have your papers moved from LC1. So there would be money exchanging hands at LC1, LC2, LC3. So you would be able to get a passport. Somebody would fork out $1 million shillings for a passport.
That's true.
Gone are those days. Right now, when the new management came in place, the first task they started with was to fight brokers. Some of these brokers were very powerful. They were connected. They had high connections to very important people. But they put down their foot. They said, no. And we fought. We removed all brokers, including jailing them. We have, actually, some of them are still in Iluzira. Some of those brokers who defrauded people there. So what is happening now are just pockets of these few, but it is not happening at the ministry premises. It is happening at faraway places. We are told, according to intelligence we have, they are doing it on the Winton Road, Nasa Road, and the Nkrumah Road.
Had to be Nasa Road.
Yes, they sit there, they have offices, and offices with the advertising. We're also following. Very soon we shall be clamping on them. They advertise, and people go there and register, and then pay brokerage fees, and then they help them to process passports. Now, there are those who are conning foreigners. Foreigners, they are out there. They forge immigration uniform. They even put on uniform and go to, say, factories and threaten these people. They ask them for documents. But we are appealing to the foreign community living and working here, for anybody to come and you are suspicious of that such a person, ask for. Our uniform now has names engraved on the chest, like you see.
Yes.
We no longer have name tags which are removable. So some of those fraudsters move with name tags. They forge name tags and are removable. So they will go there, put on a tag, and enter a certain factory and start threatening those people and extort money. Now, we have been sensitizing foreigners who live and work here that for anyone to come to your factory, first of all, you have to be sure that it's coming from immigration. Some of them, of course, are undercover. They don't put on a uniform, but they must have identification, which you look at. And we have given them the replica of how the identification looks like. So nobody should just walk to you, threaten you, whether he finds you in the streets of Kampala and asks for documentation which you don't have, or asks you for money, and for you just speak and give money. No. First, do some due diligence on that person to ensure that, to confirm that that person is actually coming from the ministry.
Well, you had it from the horse's mouth. Hopefully, no one will defraud you when it comes to your passport and passport acquisition. It's very important that you acquaint yourself with information like this so that you avoid being defrauded. If you're applying for an ordinary passport, it is 250,000. If it is express, you add another 150,000. And if you're in the diaspora, the ordinary passport is 260,000. The 10,000 caters to courier, because the government has subsidized and is shouldering most of the courier fees. Well, we can't go any further. Thank you
but
so
I wanted to say something just in 1 second. At the Ministry of Internal Affairs, just tomorrow, we're organizing a medical camp where we are screening cancer. We have all specialties in doctors. Doctors are of all specialties are going to be based at the ministry headquarters tomorrow. We are doing all cancer screening, eye check, HIV, blood donation. So we are appealing to all Ugandans to come and engage in this free of charge. it will be in the ministry main parking tomorrow. We have that.
You should look out for your health. Thank you so much, Mr. Monday, for coming through.
Welcome.
And thank you so much for watching Good Morning Uganda. Now we do continue. Up next is the Good Morning Uganda Tourism Express with Irene Allen Namisango.
Live from UPC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
UBC is the national public broadcaster. We educate, inform, entertain, and inspire our audiences. You can watch us on free-to-air channel 001, DSTV channel 282, GoTV channel 371, Star Times channel 201, Zuku TV channel 20, and Azam TV channel 350. Even when your subscription expires, you can still watch UBC for free on your pay TV platforms.
Live from UPC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Welcome to GMU Tourism Express. Actually, this is the second day where we are exploring the very many beautiful and diverse species that we have at CTC Conservation Center. It is located along Masaka Road in Impigi, Butambala, and this place is one of the very unique places that you need to visit when you come to the country or when you decide to take over a day to explore Uganda. Because first of all, this is one place where you're going to get so close to these wildlife species. Look at me, who thought that I would be here holding a land tortoise, man. See this baby tortoise. It is very cute, actually. Wow. Anyway, I don't even have words. I'm just running out of words, but it is very nice. And when you think about exploring the country, CTC Conservation Center is a place to you. Come, let's do this.
This is a leopard land tortoise. This is around 8 months old, and this is 3 years old. They are basically vegetarians. They feed on grass in nature and commonly found in northern Uganda, Moroto, Karamoja region. That's why you can basically get to see them. The adult ones, we shall come across them. What they do is they dig and lay eggs and cover. And then that's where the babies hatch from.
What is so unique about the tortoise as a species?
The leopard land, it's their way how they look and their hard shell, and then they are not commonly found in other places except in hot areas. That's why you can get.
I've actually seen a documentary where a parrot used to teach a young child how to read. This child had a problem with reading. Maybe she had a problem with her tongue that she could not speak properly. So the parents tried so much to teach her how to read, but she failed. But then at home they had a pet that was a parrot. And this parrot, when the parents were away, the parrot would teach the kid how to read. And we are here at CTC Conservation Center with the great parrots. We want to see, can they really mimic the sounds when you say something? Can they really mimic that sound that you've said?
We have the African grey parrots, the kasukus, commonly known as kasukus in Uganda. Very good at mimicking sound if trained. Like if you grow up with it and you teach it, it will copy the sound. They are very intelligent birds, monogamous. They pair for life. If the pattern dies, it will stay single for the rest of its life, or sometimes they also can commit suicide. Like if it loses the husband or the wife, they have to die also. So very intelligent birds. Sometimes people say they are Congo parrots because they are mostly found in Congo, though we have them here in Uganda. You can relate their intelligence to a 5-year-old kid, these ones. And they live for quite long, between 50 to 90 years. They live for so long.
So how old are those?
These we are not sure because they are not born here, so we can't tell.
Where did you get them from?
From here, Uganda, and you cannot tell who is a male, who is a female until you have done a DNA. That's when you can tell that this is a male or this is the female.
A DNA.
Yes.
How do they like meet?
How do they meet? God created them in a way that for them they can.
Never seen them.
They just climb like the normal, the chicken, how it does.
So how do you differentiate that?
We are not sure.
Yeah.
We must first do a DNA if we want to know that we have these males, we have these females. We have to first carry out a DNA.
How many parrots?
I think 8, if I'm not mistaken, 8. One of the difference is they mimic, meaning they can copy sounds in your own voice. So if you speak differently, even the kid differently, they will differentiate the voices, and then you cannot distinguish between who is a male, who is a female until you have done a DNA. Unlike in most of the birds, I'll give an example with sunbirds. The bright colored ones are the males, and the ones that are dark colored are the females. Unlike these ones, you must first carry DNA to know that this is a male, this is a female. Feeding, they eat a lot of fruits. They can eat watermelon, they can eat grapes, they can eat maize, they can eat chili, they can eat sugar cane. So they are basically fruit eaters.
You can come yourself and enjoy and have this beautiful moment, chilling around with the parrots and trying to see whether they can actually mimic your name. You never know, you could come here and they call your name like Mike. So you never know. Find time and visit CTC Conservation Center. Holding this iguana is not something easy, just like you see it, because man, we had to struggle and see that you get it to hold it. Actually, it is not even dangerous, but because the fear that is instilled in us that holding wildlife, wild animals is a little dangerous. That is why you get scared when you actually first get an encounter with these animals, but they're not dangerous. Now, like this iguana cannot even bite, cannot do anything. You can just hold it peacefully and it can just be there. You holding it peacefully like that, enjoying this experience. Man, coming here to CTC shows you that there is most of the wild animals are not dangerous. You just need to learn how to live with them and be happy together with the wildlife.
And it's now business time. With the ongoing evictions in Luigi and areas of Nansana, the National Environmental Management Authority has come out to clarify on some of the buildings or some businesses or some parts of Nansana or Luigi that have not been cleared. And this follows different criticism coming in from many of those whose houses or property has been destroyed. Now, according to Dr. Badirega Kankwansa, structures including Starbucks were left out to save the country from the heavy financial cost in compensation of breach of contract. And the National Environment Management Authority has clarified on the ongoing public contestation on why other structures like Starbucks gas stations was left out during the Luigi restoration exercise. Now, Starbucks, one of the contested structures according to NEMA, received government approval in 2017 with government suspending issuance of certificates for development on wetlands in 2021. Now, Dr. Akankwansa Barega said government reviewed all available options and took a decision to leave some structures, including Starbucks, to save the country from financial costs in regards to compensation of the breach of contract. Now, in reference to Section 133 of the Environmental Act, Dr. Akankwansa re-echoed that no single person will be compensated, but instead they should be prepared to compensate government for the crimes they committed. Now, he further revealed that government has started making case files with consultation from the Office of the Directorate of Public Prosecution to see if the cost of restoration should be transferred to the degraders. And now, as of Monday, at least 214 households were evicted from Lubigi out of the 315 that were given restoration orders. Now, NEMA has since not received any appeal from anyone seeking reconsideration of what NEMA clarified on the alleged cases by some people. Now, to all those who have not yet received restoration orders but occupying gazetted wetlands have been asked to vacate peacefully to avoid being made to compensate the government. Also, NEMA clarified on the issue of Kazi Beach. According to Lubigi, entirely occupies about 1,700 acres, and out of which 400 hectares remained intact without encroachment. Now, away from issues of NEMA, we head to Mukono because Mukono High Court has cleared investors to continue using their land measuring over 1,000 acres at Namamve Industrial Park in Mukono District. Now, a private citizen, Andrew Muyoga Mopiru, who has no locus in the park, had sought cancellation of about 13 investors' certificates of titles, but the court dismissed his petition. Now, on the same time, in October last year, Mobiru sued 13 investors together with National Forestry Authority, National Environment Management Authority, the Commissioner on Land Registration, and the Attorney General, who is the principal legal advisor of the government. And according to Mobiru, he was claiming that the government had illegally issued titles for over 1,000 acres of land to the investors through the Commissioner Land Registration. Now, in his submission, Mobiru claimed that the government illegally granted titles to the investors in the forest reserve. And in his ruling, Justice Mobiru states that the plots neither form part of Namamve Central Forest nor lie in a protected wetland. Now, the judge also ruled in the presence of lawyer Francis Semboa, who was representing Mobiru, who did not show up in court, and the investors and government institutions were represented by lawyers Rashid Babu, Esau Isingoma, Stanley Kanje, and Lydia Ntono on top of it. Now, further developments coming in from the Northern Corridor that is taking part in Mombasa. Many of our goods, or the majority of the goods in Uganda that are imported, are managed at the Mombasa port. Now, details coming in from that side shows that goods worth 1 billion Ugandan shillings have been stuck after Ugandan buyers disappeared. Now, goods worth more than 300,000 US dollars, that is approximately 1.1 billion Ugandan shillings, are stuck awaiting re-exportation to India after a Ugandan buyer disappeared upon arrival in Mombasa. Now, the goods are from Marathon Electric Motors, an Indian company, and they include 59 motors which were supposed to be delivered to Chemkwi Adhesives and Sealants in Uganda, and these goods were to be shipped to Chemkwi Adhesives and Sealants Limited, based in the industrial area that is along the Muruana Road. But when the goods arrived in Mombasa, the buyer, Chemkwi Adhesives and Sealants Limited, stopped communicating, and the applications failed, as well as the applicants failing to trace the goods and the owner. Now, this is according to the director of Marathon Motors, Mr. Mitul Zaveri, who stated in an affidavit. Now, besides that, a quick tour of Murana Road by now indicated that there was no such a company in the country So that means someone ordered for the goods, but the company is not in existence in the country. Now, the bigger question is, who is the owner of the company and where were the goods heading to, if at all they were cleared? More questions rotating around Uganda's importation policy. Now, that aside, we now focus our eyes onto the forex market to see how the different currencies were faring on the exchange by close of business Monday, and how you will find these particular currencies on the exchange this morning for those of you who will be trading various currencies, or for those of you who will be seeking out to exchange currencies into the Ugandan shilling or into any foreign currency. Now, the US dollar was opening at 3,745.67 shillings and selling at 3,755.67. By closing time, it was buying at 3,732.63 while selling at 3,733.30. Now, the Great Britain pound was buying at 4,720.65 shillings while selling at 4,746.52. The euro was buying at 3,993.16 while selling at 4,003.86. Now, the Kenyan shilling was buying at 29.04 while selling at 29.12. And the Tanzanian shilling was buying at 1.42 while selling at 1.42 shillings. Now, lastly, the South African rand was buying at 207.24 shillings while selling at 207.79 shillings. And that is how you will find the forex exchange, or how you will find the different rates on the exchange. Those figures courtesy of the Bank of Uganda. Well, Shetal Oliver Kaninda is right here to give us a clear roadmap of how to maneuver through the Kampala traffic this Tuesday morning. For now, it's a goodbye. I'll be back tomorrow with more business updates. But the Good Morning Uganda continues, so stick around.
Good morning. Thank you for staying with us. It's time for our traffic updates, and let's see how we can use the routes that we know, or the routes that we can try this morning to get us where we are going now. Inside Kololo, as you can see, Roscoe Road seems to be having slow movement, but after that, if you're trying to join the one that leads you to the Upper Kololo Road, you are safe to move, and you will only be finding slow movement as you're trying to get to the junction that has the CID police office grounds, and that is where you'll be finding some bit of slow movement. But short of that, you are safe to move. Inside Kololo is safe for you to move now. York Terrace has slow movement, but nothing for you to worry about. Prince Charles Drive also has slow movement. And if you're coming from Elizabeth Avenue, you'll be finding a little bit of slow movement, and that is only because of the junction that has the Upper Kololo Terrace. Now, along Upper Kololo Terrace, you are safe to move, as you can see, and there is nothing for you to worry about all the way as you're trying to see how to get through. Now, if you are trying to use Kololo to join Wampeo Avenue, you are also safe to move. The moment you leave that junction that has the lights, you are safe to keep moving. Now, if you are using if you're trying to use the route that comes out from Hesketh Bell Road to join the road that leads you to Ginger Road, you will be finding no traffic whatsoever, and you are safe to move as you're trying to make your way to town. And as you can see, most of the roads at this point are relatively okay. There is not much traffic for you to worry about, but I cannot guarantee that in the next 20 minutes you will be finding the same result. However, if you are moving right now, that is how we are holding up at the moment. You will be finding little to no traffic on the different roads. But if you are using the sides of Chira Road, definitely you'll be finding a bit of holdups. If you're using Ntinda Road Bukoto Road, a bit of hold-ups because one of the lights, two of the junctions, and also because of some students that are still being dropped off at school, but otherwise, or even parents coming from dropping off the kids at school. But otherwise, you'll be finding no traffic on the main roads. But also, even when you look at some of the paths that you might choose to use, you'll be finding no traffic. And well, this is how we are standing this morning. Thank you for staying with us. Coming up is Good Morning Uganda Agenda. Do stick around.
WIB Uganda Limited ndi member. Wemba member, kampani eno weyeida twalinga tutuli bulungi nga abakyala ab'ewakawaka. Abakyala ab'ewakawaka tuwemera ku baami baife nga bonkana abajamu nanda nga twidi nti abakyala tebakozesa ki nanda. UN Women weyeida yatuteekateeka yatwegesa okulunda engege nga abakyala. Twatandika beno okudulunda n'okudirisa n'okolaki. Twafunamu nga abakyala ababujiri district. Abashala babujiri district so fatuli abashala 14 abakola project eya WIB. Abashala 14 twayawula mu sectors. Mulimu abashala ba production, abalisa, mwaba abashala ba validation, abongera engege omutindo bayongera ko omutindo. Twaba n'abashala ba harvesting, aba harvestinga. Twaba n'abashala abakola aba marketing. Sector dona diri trained era didi chodikola ki chodikola project eno tufunye mu nga abakyala government yaife ne Uganda njebaza okuja kujanga batulingirira mu nga abakyala abana Uganda eri kujanga etrobingira ebibina bingi. We have UWEB baleta parish development model, we have myoga byona biri kwida muki mu bakyala oba mu bantu abaki aba Uganda.
Mukoke Fish Farmers Association tuli balunzi ba byananda ebyebika ebisatu omuli Miracap, tilapia oba engege ni catfish twete male. Group eno twatandika twali abantu basatu nga tulingirira obwetaavu obwebyenanda obw'obwiva eno okubona nti tufuna okasente akava mu maadi agali gatambula butambule nga gatubita ku wanu ng'ekirabo. Twatandika ni fish pond ndala mu mwaka gw'e2018. Twebaza fisheries officer ni district ya Bugiri babanga batulagirira kusaani fish farm ebwikwe ni side day ndeyo twabanga tusobola okufuna kwetusaako obugege obwasooka era mu mwaka ogwali 2020 awo basobola okubanga batuwaayo ebyenanda emitwalo $40 okuva mu operation were creation era okubayongerezaako emmere yatuweebwa okuva Uganda Poultry Breeders. Twasobola okuba nga tusoloza akasente akawerera obukayire nga 42. Twasobola okuba nga tubuinvestinga oba okubona nti twongerezaako ku bimu ku bintu bye tukola gano. Twebaza gavumenti yaife okuba nga buli saawa efaayo okuba nga efeeri y'Abannayuganda.
Pick of the day on UBC.
Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. on your public broadcaster.
Was brought to you by.
I'll call you every day, yeah, yo, Meidundolo.
You can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks. Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000. Or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100 *21# and select daily, or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
UBC is the national public broadcaster. We educate, inform, entertain, and inspire our audiences. You can watch us on free-to-air channel 001, DSTV channel 282, GoTV channel 371, Star Times channel 201, Zuku TV channel 20, and Azam TV channel 350. Even when your subscription expires, you can still watch UBC for free on your pay TV platforms.
Hello everyone. Today we're going to discuss a critical topic that could potentially save lives: the top 10 signs of a heart attack. It's crucial to be aware of these warning signals and act promptly. Before we start, please remember that this information is not a substitute for professional medical advice. If you suspect a heart attack, seek emergency medical attention immediately. Number 1. Chest pain or discomfort. The most common symptom of a heart attack is chest pain or discomfort. It may feel like squeezing, fullness, pressure, or pain in the center of the chest. This sensation can last for more than a few minutes or may come and go. Number 2. Shortness of breath. Shortness of breath is another significant sign. If you're having difficulty breathing or experiencing sudden and unexplained shortness of breath, it could be a warning signal. Number 3. Upper body discomfort. Pain or discomfort in the arms, neck, jaw, back, or stomach can also be indicative of a heart attack. Pay attention to any unusual discomfort in these areas. Number 4. Nausea or vomiting. Some people may experience nausea or vomiting during a heart attack. If you're feeling sick to your stomach without an apparent cause, consider it a potential warning sign. Number 5. Cold sweats. Sudden cold sweats, clammy skin, or a feeling of lightheadedness can be signs that your heart is under stress. Don't ignore these symptoms. They may indicate a heart attack is underway. Number 6. Fatigue. Unexplained and extreme fatigue, especially if it's not related to physical exertion, can be a subtle but important sign of a heart attack. Listen to your body and take it seriously. Number 7. Dizziness or fainting. If you experience dizziness or faint, it could be due to insufficient blood flow to the brain, a potential consequence of a heart attack. Seek medical attention if this occurs. Number 8. Irregular heartbeat. Irregular heartbeats or palpitations can be another warning sign. If you notice your heart racing or beating irregularly, it's important to get it checked out. Number 9. Indigestion-like symptoms. Sometimes symptoms such as indigestion, heartburn, or stomach discomfort can be misleading and be signs of a heart attack. Be aware of the context and any additional symptoms. Number 10. Anxiety or a feeling of impending doom. Intense anxiety or a sense of impending doom without an obvious cause can also be a warning sign of a heart attack. Trust your instincts and seek help if you feel something is wrong. Remember, time is of the essence during a heart attack. If you or someone around you experiences these symptoms, call emergency services immediately. Early intervention can make a significant difference. Stay informed, stay safe, and take care of your heart. This program is produced by Sani Production, powered by UBC TV, inspiring Uganda. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.
Live from UPC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Good morning, and thank you so much for being with us on UBC TV. Welcome to Good Morning Uganda Agenda. I'm Robert Chirabo Nyonyitono, and today we want to be discussing something yet very important to everybody who wakes up and goes to work. No matter what job you do, as long as you wake up to go and work, you're employed. We want to discuss something that is meant to protect you at your workplace, and we want to ensure that we discuss the rights of workers, occupational health hazards, and safety at workplaces, because we know that almost everybody wakes up to work. And to discuss this with me, I have Moses Mauku, who is the General Secretary, Uganda Hotels, Foods, Tourism, Supermarket and Allied Workers. Now that is the HTS Union. Moses, good morning and welcome.
Good morning to you, Brother Chirabo. I wish to salute all Ugandans who are watching the big TV and congratulate all workers of Uganda upon all that they do to earn a living.
How are affairs of the union moving on? Have you stabilized? Are things moving on very smoothly? Because there was at a time when there was so much happening in the union movement.
Well, apparently for my union, I can say we are stabilizing. We have been moving on the recovery program. You remember we lost over 25,000 members due to the effects of COVID-19. And we are steadily recovering our membership. And as we speak now, we have gone to about 33,000 members again. So we are on the move to recover, and we are steadily doing that.
Now today we want to look at labor rights that include health, safety at workplaces and so much. But even before we go to that, are labor rights relevant and possible to implement in a country like Uganda, where we have a very young population, but also very high levels of unemployment? Getting a job to many people, it's a miracle.
It is reality that we have high levels of unemployment in Uganda. However, it does not make it prudent for an employer not to observe labor rights. Labor rights are human rights. So for anybody to claim that because there is a prevalence of high levels of unemployment and therefore you have a right to trample on people's human rights or labor rights is just something unthinkable. It's not right in production. It is not right humanly. It's not right in law. Uganda, as a member state of the International Labour Organization, is bound to observe the international standards which among others include so many things. But basically we have the 8 core conventions by ILO, which Uganda has ratified. And therefore the need for Uganda and the people living in Uganda to ensure that they observe these labor rights. These labor rights, besides ratifying those conventions, Uganda has a constitution of 1995 as amended after every 5 years. And the constitution articles 29 and 40 is explicit on the workers' rights and liberties. That among others include the right to safe and good working environment. We have 2 pieces of law of parliament that deal with human life and safety at workplace. The first law is a remedial law, that is the Occupational Safety and Health Act of 2006. And the other law, that is a preventive law. The remedial law that we have on workers' lives or health and safety is the Workmen's Compensation Act.
Okay.
The preventive law, the Occupational Safety and Health Act, basically deals with how to prevent harm, how to prevent ill health while in employment. But in case something happens, either that causes harm in form of accident, then we use the remedial law to deal with the situation. So you find that Occupational Safety and Health Act or Occupational Safety at Workplace basically deals with the prevention of harm from any incidentals that may arise during the scope of work. I hope you have not been one of the victims of industry accidents, because I will investigate when you got that accident, whether it qualifies as an industry accident or not. The other is that health is an aspect. You can't work when you are not healthy. So it is important that we understand, as workers of this country or elsewhere, to understand that health is the state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being of a person who is at workplace, but not just the the absence of disease or infirmity. You may be looking nice, like you look today. You don't have a disease, you don't have an infirmity on your body, but when you are still unhealthy, because your mental issues are not adding up very well. So health involves whether mental, physical, and social well-being of a person at workplace. And these laws deal with all these issues. So I also wanted to explain that there are hazards that we meet each day we are in employment. There are various hazards, and these hazards are categorized. We have hazards that are physical. Like if you are working in a place that is very noisy, that is a physical hazard. You are working in a place, say people who work in probably the national parks, you have physical hazards, all those wild animals. They can hit you, kill you, eat you. Snakes can bite you. Those are physical hazards that we meet in the wild, the place of work. We also have another category, which is chemical. There are so many chemicals that we meet with during the exigence of our duties. So many types of chemicals, and these chemicals are dangerous to our lives. So we need to be cautious when dealing or handling chemicals of any sort or any nature at the workplace. We also have ergonomics as another category of hazards. Ergonomics can include issues to do with the posture of either your your workplace or workstation, the chair that you use when you are working. It may require, it might mean something to do with how many hours do you stand while on duty. That is something to do with ergonomics. And it also has a number of effects on our health as we continue to work. The other category is radiation. Different workplaces have different categories of hazards. One time I took my mother to Mulago for X-ray, and the person administering the X-ray was telling me, you cannot be in this room. I said, I wanted to see what you do. He said, no. These rays are very, very dangerous to humanity. But I said, but you are subjecting it to my mother. And you're also going to do it while here. So he told me that, these rays are very dangerous, that they reduce over 51 days of your life whenever you're subjected to an X-ray. I said, but how comes that for you, you do it on a daily basis? And he was telling me that for them, they have ways of protecting themselves. So some of these things are actually very dangerous. Some people claim that they have gotten used to certain situations.
Yes.
When inside themselves, they are getting these effects. And sometimes some of these effects arise after some time. Not that you will get the effects immediately. So those are also, that is also another category of hazards that we meet in the workplace. Even these phones, I've seen so many posts of phones bursting when people use them while they are charging. So there are so many things that we go through that we need to take care about because they affect our lives. The other category is psychological.
That is also categorized under hazards.
We have psychological hazards at the workplace. One of them could be alcoholism. There are many people who say, if I don't drink, I don't sleep. If I don't do this, I don't work perfectly. But these psychological things affect somebody's life and health. Every time from work, you run into a bar and drink up to about midnight or so. Again, you have very little time to sleep. Every time you're thinking about alcohol or smoking. Those are hazards that affect somebody's health, and they can also affect you at workplace. Do you think you'll perfectly work when you are under the influence of alcohol? One of the offenses that you commit is to work under the influence of alcohol or other intoxications. But sometimes they become habits with some of these people that work. So we need to be mindful and careful when using some of these things. I'm just giving examples of some of these categories of of hazards that we meet at workplace. And the last category is biological. Biological, these affect mainly many people. You have been hearing candida in workplaces with the lavatories are not very hygienic. Employees are all the time suffering diseases, especially our female colleagues. There are things that arise from unhealthy and untidy places of work that can cause various diseases, including, actually biological even includes things to do with viruses. You remember what COVID-19 did here? It is a virus. And it affected so many people from work. Yeah, all these are viruses.
Flu breaks out and
so all these are hazards that we meet at workplace.
Now, Moses, having said that, just remind our viewers that you can be part of the topic of discussion this morning by simply sending us a text message on the number that will be popping up on your screen as we discuss labor rights, occupational health, and safety at workplaces. Now, when we look at the categories you've given us, first we looked at those that can happen at your workplace, during your work, and then the compensation level of it. Now, what are the levels of awareness of Ugandans, those in employment places? Because as we are talking about some of the hazards, chemical hazards, we have some people in the flower industry, you know,
who basically use chemicals. Even in farming.
Some don't have protective gears. I want to mention some work in sugarcane factories, sugarcane plantations. When you talk about noise, we have very many people who are in metalwork businesses, you know, welders. We have those. When you go to these industries, you know, we are craving for industrialization.
Even in security, we have people who shoot artillery guns, those heavy guns.
So I'm looking at...
And they, many times they impair their
And
ears.
you rightly quoted the law, both our local law and international laws, to which we are signatories. But when I look at the prevailing situation, it's as if these are absent.
One of the key issues that I can state here is that under the tripartite arrangement in ILO and social dialogue in Uganda here, the three parties in employment, that is government, employers, and the workers, are duty bound to, among other things, sensitize the community, that includes workers, the employers, all those people that are concerned with occupational safety and health. But I don't know how many times the ministry responsible for labor comes here to educate Ugandans on these laws. I don't know how many times the employers come to UBC or go anywhere to educate workers and themselves about occupational safety and health. And yet, there is no organization that can survive without people being alive, people being healthy. But for us, for me, I come when I get opportunity and undertake our mandate as workers' representatives to educate our colleagues. And I want to take this opportunity specifically. One is to define, because very many workers in Uganda do not even understand the definition of an industry accident. Most people that I've interacted with, when you ask, they don't know. Even employers who employ us do not know the definition of an industry accident. So I will take this opportunity to explain and inform Ugandans that we have the Occupational Safety and Health Act that defines and describes what an industrial accident is. And you can find this in section 3, section 4, and section 5. All these sections of the law describe an industrial accident. But in summary, it is defined to mean that accident that an employee or a worker meets 1 hour before you start to work, but when you are en route your workplace. It is that industrial accident that you meet while you are in the workplace. It also includes the the accident that you may meet after you have signed out of work, en route home. So it starts 1 hour before you start work, but en route to your workplace.
Yes.
The time you are in workplace, and 1 hour after you have finished work, but traveling back home. Any accident you meet within that time, it is referred to as the industrial accident, for which there are rights that you derive in case it so happens. When you meet such an accident, either by border, either by motor vehicle, or any type of accident, while you are going to work, while you are on duty, and after work going back home, the employer is supposed to treat you until you die or until you recover.
But Moses, yes, this is a union of workers, and you also have the apex body, of which happen to be the Treasurer General
of
Notu. But as you're speaking this, one, if I'm the employer,
yes, please,
what do I benefit in observing these labor laws, observing the Occupation and Safety and Health Act? Because, you know, what are the benefits?
You know, to
me, the employer.
One thing is that we pay tax, all of us.
Yes.
And if you ask somebody whether he is interested in paying a tax is paid by everybody who is mature, who is working, and who is doing business. But we don't pay taxes because we want to pay. We only pay taxes because it is right to pay taxes. You get?
Yes.
The right things that we do these things because it is right to have them done. You have 10 commandments in the Bible. If you steal, do you think you are doing something good?
No.
But when you steal and you are not caught, you get rich of what you have stolen. In economics, they tell you that one of the ways through which people get rich is by stealing. People have corrupt here, and you have heard very many corrupt people. You do corruption, you get money, you even build a factory. It becomes your factory. But you got it through corruption, the wrong way. Unless when you have been identified to have stolen money to do that, it remains your property. But it's not a right thing. So right things may not be needed, may not be welcome. But we do them because they're the right thing and they are written in law. So one of the things that an employer benefits from observing the law, first and foremost, is to be compliant with the legal requirements. It's a benefit to be compliant. Secondly, take this example. We are discussing about life. If you want to be productive, you must have healthy and safe employees. The law comes to just document what you are supposed to do correctly. It's not that the law is wrong. The law is telling you, ensure your people that work for you. So that in the case of an accident, this person had an accident because she is working for you. You compensate. What if the person dies because of your job? So his family finds a way out when he has died because of doing your work. So this business that you do must put money aside to ensure the employee that in the case she gets an accident, let there be compensation. In case this person dies of working for me, let this family be compensated. That is what the law says. And you can only be productive when your company observes these legal requirements. Your company can only be productive when the employees are healthy, safe, and working. If they are sick, they will be in the hospital. You will still pay salary to a sick employee who is not working because you are not observing some of these things. You don't have safety gears for them. So they get candida every time. And when the girl is sick, she won't be on duty. But you are meant to pay salary. There is absenteeism that is going to culminate from these poor working conditions. There are accidents that are going to occur because you have not taken note of what you are supposed to do according to the law. So the end loser will still be the employer. So do what the law requires of you. Stay clean and smart, and you stay productive. The employees are productive, your organization is productive.
Now this brings me to ask, with such a good law that we have, the Occupational Safety and Health Act. What is failing enforcement? Because once you have a law in place, that means the enforcement must enforce this law. When I move around, you find so many companies, so many, and when it comes to the private sector, for government parastatals, we are fair, we are better. But when you go to the private sector, I run my factory, coffee, whatever. I run my farm, my dairy farm, I run my shop. You know, the situation is very, very up. You know, people, if people don't have contracts, people, to get a contract, they don't even read through. All is to sign, I'm okay with it. You know,
those things do happen.
But as you bring this Westernship to be implemented here, are we looking at the prevailing situation?
Robert, it's not Westernship, it is Uganda. These laws are Ugandan laws. We are talking about Ugandan laws.
Because I'm questioning practicability.
Well, I must tell you that we are in these things. And these things are done 100% by the organizations that recognize the union. And they are making more profit. You cannot compare organizations like Sheraton, Sheraton Kampala Hotel, with a hotel which is not observing the rights, and you think it makes more profit than Sheraton or Kampala Serena, which observes these rights. No. It instead makes these organizations operate even better and even more profit.
Where an employer can say, yeah, it is I hire, I fire at will.
No.
Now you come up and say,
allow me
just
a minute to define two things here that are very critical. I defined the industrial accident.
Yes.
But we also have industrial diseases in law. And it is defined under section 27. An industrial disease, leave alone an accident. But there are diseases that we contract as a result of the work that we do or assigned to us by the employer. So if I contract a disease arising from the day-to-day duties that I do for my employer, that disease becomes an industrial disease for which the employer must treat me throughout or until I heal from that disease. And if I don't, then compensation must be done. But it is a medical doctor from a qualified hospital that makes a report to that effect. You don't name any disease industrial. Maybe you befriend a girl and you get HIV/AIDS at workplace and you call it industrial. No. Industrial disease could be an example where probably somebody is working in a cold room for a long time, and then you contract those respiratory diseases, and when you go to a hospital for checkup, they tell you you have this disease and it is because of the conditions under which you work that you contracted. So that one is qualified as an industrial disease. So people must understand what it means to have an industrial disease and what it takes for yourself and the company to deal with you. And the other thing is life insurance. Now we are getting to the other law. Every employer is by law required to insure all his or her employees for life, like I was explaining, because you need a healthy person to work for you. So your duty is to secure a premium with an insurance company. In the case of any accident with any of the employees, the insurance company shall be the one to compensate, not necessarily the company. Your duty is only to insure and pay the premium annually so that the insurance company can take care of the treatment and the compensation of this employee. And that is also prescribed in section 18 of the law. And what is also the other, what is important for us to understand here is how to report an industry accident or an industrial disease. It is where we have had most of the problems, where employees do not know the process of how to report an industrial accident, and you get a fatal accident, you fail to report in accordance with the law, and the insurance company doesn't compensate you, then you continue blaming the employer. We have responsibilities. The employer has responsibilities in the process of reporting. The union has responsibilities. The employee himself or herself has responsibilities. But whenever you get into an accident, you expect two things, either to survive or die. When you survive an accident, and that is one of the reasons these unions help the employees. If you survive an accident, first thing is report to the management, if you are in that position to report by yourself. Second is report any accident to police, because the law requires a police report, a management report, and the third report is the labor officer, district labor officer, using Form 31. And you report to the labor officer within 14 days from the occurrence of the accident. You need that SD reference from the police. You also need to have the management and the union help you process these things, because an ordinary employee may not understand these processes. The union is always aware of the processes, the management is always aware of these processes. And this person, when she has gotten an accident, must be taken for treatment, which the company takes care of until this person heals or dies. And after the culprit has healed, or I mean the victim has healed, then the medical doctor, who is pre-qualified, is supposed to assess the degree of loss or the degree of incapacity the accident has caused your life. That is what they compensate.
The insurance.
The insurance compensates the degree of incapacity the accident has caused on your life. Not every accident is compensatable. There are accidents we incur, and it only probably you can bleed arising from that accident, but you have gotten no you have gotten no infirmity, you have gotten no fracture. Maybe it is just a cut. They go and treat you and you heal, and the only bad thing you have is probably a scar. So when you are to assess, you may get 1%, and 1% constitutes very little or negligible amount of money. That even the process to process these this compensation will be higher a cost than what you are going to earn out of it. So such accidents, you leave it at treatment and it ends there. Because accidents, incapacity is rated from 0 to 100. If the accident causes you incapacitation that is between 1 to 100%, the rating, the payment in compensation will be determined by the percentage the doctor shall award you. But when this doctor of yours gives an award, the insurance companies have their own doctors to reassess. Sometimes people get accidents of less percentage and the doctor gives a very high percentage. Sometimes people get accidents that cause them incapacitation of a very high percentage, the doctor rates little. So the remedy is by the ministry responsible for labor. The ministry responsible for labor has a board, a medical health board, that deals with complaints, and their decision is then final. They will reassess the victim and award what they believe is right, depending on the reports that they will assess of your. But some of this information, many workers in Uganda do not know. That is why I will continue to encourage workers of this country to join unions, because the unions have this information and they will help you to walk through these processes so that you get compensation.
Well, most of the messages coming in, people are telling their stories of what they went through and how they never got any form of compensation. Because when I look at the messages, Isma, Chimbugwe, Scovia, all of them, they are telling stories. Please ask a question, not tell us a situation you went through, how you tried, and all in vain. These are most of the messages coming in. And one is saying, Mauku speaks very, very well. But unfortunately, what is saying, like you said, Robert, is not practical to a country where you do not even have, if a minimum wage has become a song for them for decades. Now, what about telling someone who employs you that they're supposed to look after you till you die because you got an accident while working at their place?
You know, people continue lamenting. We have minimum wage for every employee who is a union member.
Moses,
I am telling you.
Your national TV.
I'm on the national TV.
Please, yes.
We have collective bargaining agreements. Every collective bargaining agreement determines the minimum wage for that company.
But we don't have a national.
The national minimum wage is the one that is lacking. But for people who are union members, they enjoy a minimum which is reviewed every time the collective bargaining agreements are reviewed. But we look beyond the unionized because we have to support and stand for every employee. So we are continuing to push government to establish or enact a law on the minimum wage for everybody. But workers who are unionized, they have their salaries negotiated each time. So they have their minimum wage. The national minimum wage is not for unionized employees, no. They have their minimum wage, which is reviewed every time they go for collective bargaining. These people who are lamenting will remain. Why don't they join unions and they have minimum wage? If you are a worker.
But also you're forgetting
you join a union.
You're forgetting that
so
much,
that
as
the minimum wage.
Much as the law requires,
as we look for,
much as the law requires that
yes,
workers are entitled to belong to unions.
Yes, please.
But you also know the challenge of our employers and many places.
No. That before we blame employers,
wait, Moses.
What have you done?
That even opening a gate for you,
because
I can refuse.
I'm telling you, while you continue saying it is very difficult to get unionized, there are very many organizations that recognize unions. How did it happen? It is the initiator is the worker. It's not the employer to look for the union. It is you to look for your own union. Most of these employers are enjoying their unions in their sectors. We have unions for employers, we have unions for workers. And the employers have their associations, which are the unions.
Oh, Uganda
Manufacturers Association.
Uganda Federation of Employers.
Uganda employers, you have Uganda
Manufacturers. It's a very strong one.
Very many of them.
Employers.
So let the workers also take the initiative to organize themselves into unions before blaming those who want to become. Those who don't want to continue lamenting. Because I've not seen, there are these attempts by everybody who has that misconception unions are bad. But when you engage them, they get to realize that they are not bad. It is a legal requirement that you speak with unions. But you go to a company to organize workers and they are asking you 1,000 questions. Are you not going to be corrupt? Are you not going to do this one?
Are you not going to cause rebellions here? Because the history of unions was all about...
So if we continue with those gimmicks of engaging ourselves before engaging the employer, when we have taken the initiative as employees, we shall continue lagging behind. Many of these lamentations, it is because people do not have enough knowledge about what happens. The law remains the law. I am telling people, my fellow workers, you read section 5, 9, and 10. It tells you of how to report an industry accident. Many cases where people fail to get compensation is they didn't go through the legal requirements of reporting. You are claiming you got an accident, 10 years ago, and you are claiming now because somebody has told you. You are raising your claim now and begin even wasting money that you are following up. But the law requires you report within 14 days to the district labor officer. You did not do it. You get. So you will not get compensated. Sections 3, 4, 5, and 27 talk about, guide you on how compensation is done. So we need to also understand that we have obligations as the employee, as the victim. Where you don't have information, look for the information. And if you want this information around yourself, is get organized into a union within your sector so that you demand these things from the union. The union will take off time to educate you on how and what happens when you get into an industrial accident. You can only work when you are alive, but accidents kill. So I do not want to agree with you saying, you know, employers don't want unions. There are many employers who are working with unions, not because they want them, but because it is right to work with unions according to law.
Well, time seems to be flying. I must let Moses out of here, but I want to thank you so much for your messages. I'm seeing them coming in. Many thanking Moses for having enlightened them about their rights and saying, well, it is important that when you get that job, take interest. Someone says we have an issue of not taking interest to understand the laws that are available to safeguard us. Thank you, Moses, for educating Ugandans. How I wish we could read more of such laws and be able to demand for our rights. Thank you very much. Thank you, UBC. Thank you. Okay, so many are thanking us, but I must let you out. Before I do that, let me just have your parting shot.
My conclusion is actually to plead with workers of this country to join trade unions of their choice and in their sectors, so that together we can continuously fight for our rights. Rights are enshrined in the laws, but you have to engage to get to what you want. Nobody is going to wake you up in your bed and say, come and find a job here. You have a job. Nobody is going to begin doing everything that you may wish to have or that is due to you in law until you tell him that, my employer, please, the law says this. What are we doing about it? In an amicable way, we have this social dialogue aspect that we use to engage with our employers and discuss the terms and conditions of our employment. I also want to encourage workers to join unions so that they can begin to enjoy this negotiated minimum wage, as we still continue to ask government for a minimum wage for all. That must be sectoral. You cannot pronounce one minimum wage for everybody, but different sectors. We even segmented these sectors in our committees. Employers and the workers, we agreed on a working document, and we agreed that different sectors should be given different minimum wages. But it is important to have and work with a minimum wage in any country, because most of the time our president has been singing about having more Ugandans getting into the money economy. We are not going to do this when we don't have a minimum wage, because a minimum wage then would make it possible for all employed persons to be able to pay as you earn. As we speak today, there are employers who come here and start, investors who come here and employ over 500 people, but when only 20 pay as you earn. Only 20 are subscribing to NSSF. The rest are all casual
some are
employees.
getting daily and all that.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to thank you so much, Moses Mauku. That is the General Secretary, HTC Union. HTS Union, for your time, for educating Ugandans. But it is very important, fellow Ugandans, that you are a member of a union, but also get to read these laws. What do they say? So that you can properly then demand for your rights. See you in the next hour, God willing. For God and my country, Ruben is ready to give us sports updates. Good morning.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC.
Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. on your public broadcaster.
Was brought to you by
I'll call you every day, yeah, yo, may don't know.
You can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000 or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100*21# and select daily or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
UBC is a national public broadcaster. We educate, inform, entertain, and inspire our audiences. You can watch us on free-to-air channel 001.